Hey everyone, this is Ryan Mitchell with thetinylife.com. I've done some videos on how to use Trello, kind of the ins and outs of it. And Trello is an amazing tool. It's a completely free tool for the most part. There's a few little upgrades that you can pay for. But in general, very useful. I've never paid for it. I've used it for years at this point. And what I realized was that it is an incredibly flexible tool and it's customizable. You can set up however you like. And what that means is when you can do anything with it, sometimes it's hard to figure out what you should do with it because you can go in any direction. So over the years of me using this, I've kind of learned some things that kind of help me just better organize my life and use this tool. So kind of apply some philosophy of use to this tool here, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that. I have two groups. Here is Other, which is mainly personal life stuff, and then the Tiny Life, which is mainly work kind of stuff. We're going to dig into weekly action items, which is what I use about 95% of the time. The rest of the boards I don't go into all that often unless I'm doing something specific in it, but most of my time is spent here in the weekly action items. All right, so like I mentioned, with this tool, you can do just about anything with. And for my weekly things I'm going to do, my day-to-day kind of stuff, I've kind of narrowed it down to this set of lists: to do, done, holding area, and errands. Okay? So to do is the things that I actually need to get done. Once they're completed, they go in the done list here. Holding area is an area that I put for things that I was, going to do that week, but something significant happened that prevented me from doing it. For example, if I needed to do something and it relied on me working with someone, but then suddenly I find out, oh, that person's on vacation this week, I'll put in the holding area, okay? Things like that. Basically, it's a place for things that don't have a place, because when it comes to tiny living, we want everything to have a place and everything in its place. And so holding area is basically the catch-all for outlier type of things. And then errands, these are things that I have to kind of do in my personal life that aren't like have to happen this week, but I need to kind of keep sight of them. So for example, it might be, I need to get my car inspected in the next 2 months or something like that. So I put that there. It may be I need to, pick up something from the store that isn't time sensitive. Basically, what I use this for is when I decide that I'm going to take a day off to kind of catch up and do errands, or if I find that I do finish my work early that week or that day and I have some time that just like suddenly opened up, I tackle the errands list. So that's kind of how I do it here. All these things are just kind of examples here, but I mentioned a philosophy of use, and I wanted to talk about that for a little bit before, we kind of get into this. But I mean, this is pretty much my board. It's pretty simple, but what really makes this thing sing is the philosophy that we apply to it. So over the years of working and just building businesses and running websites and, being an adult and things like that, I realized that the truth is that you can do a lot of work, but you're not actually making progress, okay? So there's a difference between work and productivity. Work is just like anything that you do, okay? Whether it's going somewhere, doing something, talking to someone, emailing, whatever the thing is, right? It's actions that you're taking. The difference between, that and productivity is that productivity are things that we do, actions that we perform that get us closer to our goal, okay? And if you're ever unsure about, like, is this a productive type of task that I'm doing, just ask yourself, is this thing that I'm doing right now getting me closer to my goal? If the answer is no, then you probably shouldn't be doing it, right? If the answer is yes, then it's probably a good use of your time. And so I think part of the philosophy here is understanding what is busy work and what is actual productivity, because much of what people do in their lives when they don't kind of really think about it is they're wasting time. They're doing busy work. It doesn't amount to anything and it doesn't matter. And that's a really sad waste of potential on many people, on everyone's part. Productivity is what we want to focus on. We want to do meaningful, valuable work that is directly tied to our goals, not just busy work. So, how do I go about doing that? Every Sunday, I sit down, and I usually do this on my phone. Trello has a really good app that's, again, free, and it works really well. It's a good design, and I usually do it from home on my app. And on Sunday night, I sit down for 15 minutes. I say, okay, at the end of this week, what are the things I want to have accomplished to make me feel good about the week I had? When I look back on Friday, am I going to say like job well done, or am I going to feel like, I didn't get to that thing I wanted to, or, I really didn't make as much progress as I thought, or something like that. And the goal here is to get to Friday afternoon and be like, job well done, like feeling really good about that. And I like to focus on that feeling more than like a checklist, okay? Because I find, checking things off is gratifying, but we want to do work that gets us closer to our goals and leaves us feeling satisfied. So that's kind of the thought process here is I sit down Sunday and say, what are the things I'm going to do this week to make me have an awesome week, so that I can go into this weekend being like, job well done, let's have some fun, and not have to worry about, what, I didn't do or should have done, or things like that. There's a little bit of intentionality placed in here, and it's a game changer, honestly. So we kind of pair the notion of doing real work and productivity, not just busy work, with some intentionality, and that combination really sings. So what I'll do is Sunday night, I'll just list out the things. Here's an example, call the builder, record the Trello video, which I'm doing right now. Check order 2794, buy a ticket, grocery shopping. These are things that I need to do this week that, and obviously I usually have bigger things and more things and whatnot. But I list out all the things I want to do in the week, and then I ask myself, okay, what things are the most important? Okay, so I may say, really need to check on this order here. That's like the most important thing. The second thing is I want to record this video. Third thing is call the builder. Then I need to buy a ticket, and then grocery shopping is something I need to do, but it really can happen whenever. And I order those things. So I designate what the things I'm going to do. Then I'm prioritizing the things that I have. And then I ask myself, is this realistic for me to complete in 1 week? So I kind of estimate, check the order. That's going to take 30 minutes. Record the Trello video. That's going to take, 5 hours to do all the videos. Call the builder. That's an hour. Buy the ticket, whatever. You get the idea. So I estimate about how much time I think each thing's going to take, and that takes some practice to do correctly. And then I, verify that like this is a realistic amount of work. Okay. Then the week starts. So when I walk in on Monday to work, I sit down and I don't have to say like, oh, what am I going to do? Or I'm not like messing around with my desk or checking my email or whatever. I'm just right to work because I open my to-do list here and bam, that's what I need to do. And I know that the thing on top is the most important thing because I've ordered them. So I start at the top, and when I do that, move it to done. Next thing, move it to done. Move it to done. Move it to done. With the grocery shopping, what I like to do here is I have one of these set up at the start of every single week. So I'll go in and I'll be like, hey, I need to get milk. I need to buy some bread. I can add whatever else I want. And so during the week, I can actually like build my shopping list. And whenever I do go, I just pull this up and there it is. And, you know, if you live with someone, you can add them to this list so they can add grocery things too. So that, you know, whoever goes to the store has the grocery shopping list. And you just go through and you get it, you check it, and then you don't miss a thing. So then, you know, you move it to your done category. Now, like I explained, let's say my camera battery died and I was waiting on it. Maybe I'll put it waiting on like a new battery to come in the mail. I could put this in the holding area because, you know, I had every intention to do it, but something outside of my control just forced me not to. In the case here, what I would do is I'd probably start to go and look and add a new thing to stay productive and keep the ball moving on things. Here, you know, like I said, these are longer term errands that aren't time sensitive, that I can tap into when I have a chance. But that's basically how I use my weekly action items in Trello. Is I understand the difference between work and productivity. I know what my goals are. I apply intention to my choices. I prioritize my list and then check to make sure that it's realistic for the time I have. And then I just start working and I do that work, and I can use these as we're going through to make notes and anything else I need to do. You know, some of these get complex. Some of these are pretty simple. All right. So that's 90% of my week. The next thing I'll show you guys here is some of the other boards. So I have this other category, which is kind of personal stuff. So like right now I'm looking for some land. I have this simplified. Before I had like different columns for like, you know, considering, visited in person, you know, whatever the thing is. I had different parcels as a card, but I've figured out which piece I'm going to buy, and then I create this before purchase checklist. So these are all the things I need to check on before I actually complete the sale or the purchase of that land. You know, things to start. Once I get the land, what do I need to do? I need to add the power, the water. These are things that I want to remember when I actually move on to it. And as I like things come up in my mind, I have a place to put it. It's like, oh, I need to do this. You know, shop. I want to build a shop. So here are some of the specs that I want to work into the shop, and that's kind of what I'm talking with builders about and things like. So this is like a large project, obviously. You know, purchasing land is expensive, but it deserved its own board, and this has taken many iterations throughout the time that I've been working on this project. The next thing is landing pad. Okay, so this is a place where basically I email thoughts, ideas, products, articles, books, anything that I want to make sure that I keep track of, but I don't have time right then to actually deal with. It may be like, oh, I heard this good book when I was talking with someone at coffee, and I may just need to put it somewhere so I remember to order it or something like that. With all Trello boards, you have an email list. And if you go to the menu, more email to board settings, there's your email address. You can set where it goes. Okay. And so in my phone, I have a email contact basically in the phone that says Trello to review. So I can basically open up my email app, write Trello to do, and it comes up with this long email address because, you know, that you can't remember that. And then I email it to me, and what happens is it'll show up right here as a card. And then, you know, every now and then this list starts to get a little bit long. And what I do is I kind of sort it into things. So share a train, that's for like business stuff. Here's some website ideas, resources. These are just like kind of references or things that I want to keep track of for future use or whatever. And you can make this to whatever you want. The point is, like, I have a landing pad for all the things that I want to deal with later. So I can keep track of them and keep up with them. And yeah, just kind of, you know, have a way to process those types of things. So that's my landing pad, and it all functions off that email address, which is really useful. All right, the next one is life. And this one's just kind of a personal fun one. So I got my bucket list here. These are like to-do things, that like fun things that aren't quite bucket list level. Trips, I really love to travel, so I want to go see the Northern Lights. I want to go visit Mount Rushmore. The eclipse is coming up, things like that. These are like different things that I break out that aren't quite bucket list level, but still fun. So for example, if I had some weekend plans and something happened and they got canceled, I can look here and be like, Lake Glenville. Okay, that's like 2 hours away. I've always wanted to go check that out. It looked really cool way back when I, emailed it to myself in my landing pad and I moved it here. So I'm going to go do that. It's basically, something that I've always wanted to do, but, I can take advantage of it when time becomes available. All right. So we talked about landing pad, life, tiny life, we'll do tiny life projects. So tiny life projects are basically larger goal types of things that I break into smaller parts, and those smaller parts end up as things in my weekly action item. Okay. So if we just look here, let's say I have a big idea. Okay. In that big idea, I could do whatever I want. I think I have, so if you look at this one, my new idea, right? Since one of the things about large goals is it's very useful to break them down into smaller parts, right? Some action steps, I do these 10 things, and when I complete those 10 things, I will have achieved this thing. And that's really useful for you to kind of tackle larger goals, because if you just put, let's say climb Mount Everest, right? Like if you were to put that on your weekly action items list, you can't do that in a week. What you need to do is you need to spend 6 months, practicing training, doing physical exercise and things like that. You need to purchase camping gear. You need to book a flight. You need to, arrange a guide or whatever. So, the big idea would be climb Mount Everest. And then my little things here would be those smaller little steps along the way that eventually lead to achieving that. And so that's kind of how I do this. So I will on Sunday just kind of glance through what I'm doing here, and kind of pull things to keep me on track for my goals. So, when I have ideas, I'll put them here, and that's really useful because I can tackle if I'm working on something and like an idea just pops into my brain, I have a place to put it and document it, and then I know that I'll be coming back to it, so I can continue on with my work and not get distracted. And then I go through here and be like, okay, I'm going to work on this project now, and it's in progress, and then I put it into my complete, and this is kind of like a nice, validating type of thing here for you. So that's kind of how I do like my larger goals and projects and things like that. Again, this all trickles down to my weekly action items. All right. And then the last one, this is kind of like my board on steroids, and it kind of just shows you some examples of what you can do. So I run the Tiny House Conference. It's a huge event. It takes over a year to plan it, and there are a million moving parts to this thing, and it's really important to, be on top of every little aspect of the conference. So for the conference, I have this board. Okay. So basically I have logistics, my speakers, houses, sponsors, and staff. That's kind of the big ticket items that I need to do. So in like logistics, people deferred tickets to next year, so I have a running list of there. I have a detailed schedule for the staff, Saturday morning script. Here's the actual schedule for attendees. My speakers, here is all of my speakers with checklists and attachments and things like that. And you'll notice I have their photos because let's say that someone comes up to me at the conference and says, I really want to learn more about such and such a thing. I was like, oh, I need to connect you with, let's say Andrew. Andrew is an expert in that specific thing. This is what he looks like. And I can actually show them the picture of Andrew, and I'm like, he's going to be in that room at this time because look, I got the schedule right here, and this is what he looks like, so you guys can connect. So and then the houses, when houses show up, I know who's associated with it. I'm not going to click on these because it's personal contact information of people. But in here, you'll have their contact info, who's on their team, their email address, details about the house, things like that, when they're going to arrive, and other stuff. Sponsors, I have their logos, so I know kind of like who's who and kind of recognize it. And then my staff, these are people that help me run the actual conference. And again, I have their pictures. So you can kind of see here how everything is kind of organized with descriptions and attachments and checklists and pictures. And it just helps me kind of keep everything organized. So that's kind of, another example of how I use Trello boards. So that's pretty much it. This is kind of the system that I've used for a while now, and I hope that's been useful to you guys. This has been Ryan Mitchell with thetinylife.com. Thanks for watching.